It's been 19 years since your first concerts in Romania. You played Bucharest and Brașov in 1993. How was the first meeting with the Romanian public?
It was good. I seem to remember it was a lot of fun. It was different in those days because, I mean, we were one of the first bands to come in after all that went on, you know. So it was different, but it was cool. I mean, the people were very welcoming and very nice, so no complaints really.
Congratulations for your new CD, Big Dogs.
Thank you.
I would like to ask you, can an artist in your position, with a long career and a lots of fans, put out a record whenever he wants to?
Well, I suppose we could really, but I mean, it's a case of we don't want to put them out unless we think they're really good. You know, because it gets harder. The more albums you make, the harder it is to please yourself, to make sure that you think this is really good. You know, so you don't want to put something out you're not sure about, or you think's maybe a little bit, So we always try to make sure we've got good stuff on it and that we really like the stuff, and then we like the public to hear it, because we've got these new songs, especially Jimmy and Lee are writing a lot these days, and it's a case of we've got these good material that we should let the fans hear it, So that's why over the last 4 years, 5 years, we've been recording quite a bit, just because it's the material's there and we feel like doing it, I guess. We've got something new to say, because I think a band should evolve. You have to keep going. You can't keep looking back, you have to look forward,
Yeah. Are you comfortable with the digital aspects of modern recording?
Well, you have to be, really. We still record off the floor live because we think we get a better feel on the records with it. But that stuff's there; it's not going away. It's the same like Twitter and MySpace and all the rest of it. It's all stuff that's there. It's like every concert we do now. By the time the concert's finished, someone's seen it from someone's telephone somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So there's nothing you can do about that. That's just technology is here to stay.
Writing songs gets harder as life gets easier?
Well, no, writing songs gets harder, I think, because, well, it depends. Sometimes you can write like crazy, you write loads of stuff, and it's all pretty good. And other times you write stuff and you think, that's not very good. Now, is it because you're not writing as good as you did, or you're getting harder to please, or is it the mood you're in, or is it... It's hard to tell, But I know what happens is with myself is if I've done something and I really think it's good and the people like it and the band likes it and whatever, the next song you do is real hard because it's got to be as good as, if not better than that one. So that's when it gets hard. It's got nothing to do with your life getting easier or anything else,
I understand. Lee joined Nazareth several years ago.
Yeah.
Do you feel the gap between generations when you write songs?
No, not at all. In fact, the last album, Big Dogs, Jimmy and Lee were the major writers on that album. I mean, because the stuff they were doing was just great. It was like, I did little bits and pieces and a couple of things, so did Pete, but Jimmy and Lee were the main writers on that album. And I'm because they write for Nazareth. We all write for Nazareth, So it's in a sort of idiom or a mode or whatever you want to call it, So no, I don't feel any age gap at all. I do if we go for a run. I can't keep up, but nothing, not musically, no.
Okay. I noticed that Nazareth has several songs dedicated to the radio. It seems you have a special relationship with the radio. Do you remember when you have listened for the first time on the radio one of your songs?
Yeah, it was, we were on, well, we used to get radio BBC, people like John Peel and I used to have a song playing live and stuff before we made it. But when our first hit in Britain was a song called Broken Down Angel. We heard it got into the charts for the first time, our first record in the charts. And we were driving to Brighton to play a show, and it was on Radio 1, and we'd just got into the charts at number 19 or 18 or something. And that was us on the radio, and it was a big thrill. I mean, it was, because that was, well, what we considered we'd made it in Britain, because we got in the charts, silly boys. We didn't know any better. So it was, it was a big thrill. And when I was growing up, there was no MTV, there was no music television at all. I mean, it was all just radio, and it was finding rock music was real hard. It was like Radio Luxembourg, maybe, and maybe a couple of shows on a Saturday morning. They had a rock show on the BBC, but that was about it. There was no rock and roll to be had, That was very difficult to find. So, but it was, when you heard it on the radio, it was really exciting. So we've always had an affinity with radio, because when we first started, we were trying to get played on the radio, because, like I say, there was no MTV. There was Top of the Pops in Britain. That was about it, But you had to be in the charts to get on that,
And I understand. You traveled all around the world. Is there a difference between American public, European public, South American public, or the public you have in Great Britain?
Not really. I mean, culturally there is. Everybody has different cultures and whatever. But when you get to a rock show, no, not really. I mean, the lights go out, you could be anywhere. As long as people are enjoying themselves and whatever, it's pretty much. Well, people that go to a concert go to enjoy themselves. You don't buy a ticket and think, well, I'm going along to be miserable. You go, I'm going to have a good time tonight. Have a few beers or whatever, and go and enjoy the band, So pretty much, once you get to the show, it's pretty much the same everywhere,
I see. What do you think of the massive business that live music has become?
Well, I think because a lot of bands that are huge, like so the U2s of this world and whatever, they have no choice really. There's so many people want to see them, and they're quite right. I mean, I know they do massive business and all that, but they put on a massive show, and it's massively entertaining. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing with like the Stones and stuff. But there's only a few bands can do that. Most of the bands are like ourselves. You go around and you play shows in bars or in theatres or gyms. But the thing is, we've always been a touring band. But a lot of bands now are back on the road because, well, they don't sell records anymore. The record business has went really down.
Yeah.
So they're going out to pay the rent. You know what I mean? So, but we've been doing that for 50 years or something, so it doesn't really matter to us. We do it all the time anyway.
Do you see any future for CDs?
No, well, I think that they'll still be there because people will want to make new music. But, I mean, I don't think CD sales will get bigger. I mean, because all the kids buy music now, most of them download it, And I think it's only people, kind of older folks like myself, who still buy CDs and stuff, because they want to hear the whole album,
How can we explain the continuous popularity of the 60s and 70s music?
I think it's because it wasn't pretentious, really. I think it was quite honest, anyway. I know ours was. And I think there was a great amount of variety, and there was still humour in it. People kind of had a laugh at themselves, the bands, we did, really. And also I think I was brought up in a great time for music because when we were going, Led Zeppelin were going, people like Genesis and Jethro Tull, they were all different, but they were all popular. People hadn't started putting everybody in little slots. This is punk and this is that and this is that,
Mm.
So I just think it was a very exciting time in music. And then I think after that, when it got to the 80s, and music television became really big, then it became a whole different thing. You watched music as opposed to listening to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Image became more important.
You had to be good looking and that. I mean, I look at television, MTV and Viva and all these things, and there's millions of them now. And I've never seen people that beautiful. I don't know anybody that's that good looking. I don't. I really don't. So, it's all sort of, it's like a kind of fantasy thing, And it's, I don't know, there's more, it seems to depend on how good you look as opposed to what the record is like,
Yeah.
That's been the big change. And I think because the 70s music and 60s music like the Beatles and the Stones and whatever, you know, was based on just the music. And so therefore it lasts, you know. I mean, people weren't supposed to look good doing it. A lot of them did, of course. But but it was mainly down to what it sounded like, you know. And I think that's been the big difference. So I think that's probably why it's lasted, because it still sounds good. I mean, if you're standing in a bar, you know, and Satisfaction comes on, you think, my God, that's a good record, man. And it's an old song now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you still think that's a good record, you know. And I think that's why it's lasted, you know.
I understand. What was the first record you ever bought?
My first record I ever bought
Yeah.
was, let me think, Elvis Presley singing Hard-Headed Woman.
Wow.
It was a 78, by the way, just to show you how old I am.
Do you like sports?
Yes, I do. I'm a football fan. But I'm a football fan, but I support my local team and stuff. But we travel so much. I love watching soccer on TV, and I like things. I like other sports, like when the Olympics come along. Like next year, I'll be watching that because you see things that you don't normally see on TV. You know, like gymnastics and running and stuff like that. And also when we've been in Canada a few times when the hockey season's on, so I quite like that. You know. Quite like watching that there.
Well, thank you very much. Looking forward for the show.
Okay, will we meet you in Bucharest?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, see you then.
We'll be there. Thank you very much.
It's nice talking to you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.